Welcome to the second part of the Circular Economy Conference. It's great to see that we had a lot of interest. Firstly, I'd like to introduce Gergana Stancheva from Le Mans, who will be speaking about bioplastics and the future of packaging.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Gergana Stancheva. I'm one of the founders and COO of Le Mans. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about bioplastics and why I believe they have quite an important role in the future of plastics. Now, the reason I'm going to speak on the topic of biopolymers is just because of my experience in Le Mans. We are a manufacturing company in Sofia, Bulgaria. We produce bio-based and suitable for compost thermal laminating fumes called Le Mans and clear packaging foils called Pecon. So you can imagine I'm going to be biased on the topic of biopolymers in general. Now, we all know the issues with plastic, but just a few quick numbers on the topic. The total historical plastic production is estimated at 8.3 billion tons. Over 50% of it is in the environment or landfills, and only 9% of all of it ever has been recycled. So that's an alarming small number, as I think you all can agree with me. And one of the issues is just that a lot of the plastic that we produce cannot be properly recycled. That is still the case. And the ones that, the types of plastic that can be recycled, it's not always in places that have the proper infrastructure. So we're facing a lot of issues with petroleum-based plastic in general. And yeah, it's obvious that we need to switch into something more sustainable in general. A lot of it, of course, a lot of the plastic that we use on a day-to-day basis comes in the form of packaging. Packaging in general is 1/2 of the global plastic waste, which is astonishing. Of course, we also lose a lot of not only money but resources just because we design products for single use. That has been a problem that's kind of plaguing our generation specifically. And plastic packaging for about $100 billion is lost each year, just because it cannot be reused or properly recycled. A big portion of it, of course, comes from the food industry. Due to the way we live, nowadays food gets transported from one corner of the earth to the other. Of course, it does make sense for us to waste food, so packaging is kind of the necessary evil. Plus, we are quite used to eating out, so fast food containers are something that is globally used. When it comes to kind of hard shell containers, the industries have made quite a lot of progress over the past few years. A lot of them are now biodegradable or compostable. A lot of them are made from paper or cardboard, so again, compostable or recyclable. So this has been a great change to see. We do have still quite some issues with foils, however, that are also often used in the food industry specifically, but not exclusively. Due to the way they're used, clear or not so clear packaging foils are oftentimes not recycled. 1.1 million metric tons end up in landfills or nature each year, and that's just for Europe. The reason being is, one, they are an end consumer type of product and often overlooked just because they look small. Plus, joking aside, they can just fly away quite easily. So they do end up in nature quite a bit more than any harder and tougher plastics out there. Again, thankfully, there are a lot of companies nowadays are making progress in that direction. A lot of R&D is happening on the side of foils specifically. There are quite a few companies that have clear packaging foils that are made from bioplastics or cellulose, the ones that are supposed to look exactly like the packages you already know and use. Our company included, so we have a clear packaging foil as well. We managed to develop a shrink foil as well that is suitable for compost. I know for a few companies that have developed cling films as well. So there is a lot of work to be done. The main challenge in front of all of us right now is to make those products available globally and suitable for mass use and mass production. Now, a great new thing to see, especially over the last 2 years, I think, is the expansion of paper and cardboard packaging in a way of substituting the petroleum plastic packaging. A lot of new developments have been made in that direction, and a lot of companies have invested a lot of money, and which is great to see, in order to design their packages to only be made from paper and cardboard. And even for the small parts, for example, in electronics, usually there is one thing and then a lot of teeny packages inside the box, usually plastic packages that are filled with some types of small, gadgets. Nowadays, we can see more and more that companies are designing the whole package to be cardboard and just have different spaces in it that are, to protect the smaller parts of whatever product there is in it. Again, that's amazing. Unfortunately, not always a possibility, especially in the food sector. Unfortunately, paper just by itself cannot withstand to a lot of moisture, cannot protect the product inside from the outer environment as well. So oxygen and again, moisture as well, and all sorts of bacteria can start developing inside the food, which of course is a no-go. That's why a lot of the packages that are supposed to be used in the food sector that are made from paper and cardboard are laminated. Lamination is a thin layer of see-through plastic that's applied on most paper and cardboard boxes or containers. Unfortunately, it makes the end products almost impossible to recycle due to the fact that it becomes mixed media and is very expensive to separate. So 1.1 million tons of laminated paper goes into landfills each year as well. That is a waste of resource, not only paper, but plastic as well. And that's something that we are now trying to solve ourselves with our laminating films that can be recycled with the paper and cardboard. But of course, a lot more needs to be done on that front. A lot more companies need to get involved in that and start developing laminating films and coatings that are really compostable and can be recycled with the paper and cardboard streams. And then a new type of waste management needs to be implemented in order to make sure that those papers that are coated with compostable or suitable for recycling materials are separated from the ones that are laminated or coated with petroleum-based plastics. And this is one of the issues that needs to be fixed with the proper certifications and labeling on a global scale. That's one of the issues that we're facing. Again, we have different tests and different barriers in order to pass certain certifications in Europe and then in the States and then in Asia again. And when things are transported and imported in and out of continents, the end customer gets confused. And I don't think it's fair to kind of leave the whole thing on them. The governments and in general the global associations when it comes to print and packaging should be much more involved in order to make the certifications unified kind of all over the world. So this is something that I think a lot of people have concerns with. If something says it's home compostable, not everybody understands what that means. It doesn't mean that you can just leave it in the garden. It still needs to be in a composting system. There is a lot of misconceptions, and this is something, again, that of course the businesses have a responsibility to talk about. But again, I do hope that governments and municipalities would be much more involved in the future on that front and start educating the end customer on how exactly to separate different types of waste, why it's important, and how to make it easy for the end user. Again, this is something that I'm not going to spend too much time on because probably a lot of the people who are watching are already well aware. But we do need to make sure that everybody, again, the end consumer, understands the difference between bio-based and biodegradable, and when the two can connect in biopolymers such as polylactic acid or PHA, PBS, and of course all sorts of starches, and when that's not the case. There are some bio-based polymers that are not biodegradable. There are some that are biodegradable but are petroleum-based. And that, again, should be labeled properly. And we should have, the ability to differentiate that easily when we see some type of package. That should be immediately obvious. Only because that would allow for us to decide and to figure out what the end-of-life option would be for any specific product. I do believe that recycling of bioplastics is something that we need to focus on a lot more as well. We see more and more the desire in a lot of companies to recycle bioplastics and use recycled bioplastics. They have quite a few cycles of life as well, so I do believe it's a waste of resource if we don't. I don't think that petroleum-based plastic is going to completely disappear from our lives. I do think it's impossible. Some products need to be packaged in very sturdy and long-living plastics. So in that sense, petroleum-based ones are a good choice. We just need to start using them smarter and creating things and creating all sorts of products, not just the packages, but products in general, with a clear strategy for end of life. I did mention that one of the main challenges in front of us now is how to make compostable and eco-friendly products mass-produced and mass-used. The two pillars, of course, are machine usability, meaning that the new type of products should be easy to implement in the manufacturing process. And the other one, of course, is cost. Just over the last 6 years since we started with Lemon, the price of polylactic acid, for example, has dropped more than half, which is great to see. Thankfully, the trend will continue in such a way. The market value of PLA for 2023 was $713 million and is estimated to become $2.8 billion in just 27 years or so. So that's quite a big jump. Thankfully, because of the people are more and more inclined into buying sustainable and eco-friendly products. They're much more mass-produced, and that, of course, helps lower the price. On top of that, thankfully, the petroleum prices are rising, which is only natural. And we do hope to, or at least I hope to see much more kind of implemented fines and taxes on products that are not sustainable. And, of course, some type of reinforcement of products that are sustainable and have proper end-of-life possibilities in front of them. Of course, everything we do, I think we do it with the concept of actually making a difference and making sure that we leave the earth not better, but at least not worse than we found it, at least in our case. For our company, for Lemon, we have pledged that by the end of this year, we'll be able to save 2.4 kilotons of CO2 per month. And that's a bare minimum. Hopefully, everybody will set ambitious goals and we'll actually start seeing a real movement in that direction on a global level, and not just talking about it and setting goals for the next 30 years. Because, I think that feels anticlimactic for a lot of people and makes them, kind of lose hope. So, yes, that's all from me. If you have any questions or if you just want to discuss any of the topics that I mentioned, I would be more than happy to talk to you. You can find us at the link and the email you can see on your screen. So, feel free to reach out. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear me out, and have a great day.
Thank you, Gergana, for that video. It's interesting to hear the challenges of the packaging sector and what we can do to overcome this. Next up is Ophelie Gourdou from CELAB-Europe, who will be speaking about what CELAB-Europe are doing to build a circular economy for self-adhesive label materials.
Hello everyone, I'm Ophelie Gourdou, the project manager of CELAB-Europe, a project aiming to create a circular economy for self-adhesive label materials. So I will explain to you a bit more in details what it means, the scope of the project, the vision, the size of the opportunity, and how we organize the work to reach our objectives. So first, let's clarify the scope of the project. Here we are talking about the release liner and the matrix that we consider valuable material that can be recycled or repurposed. The matrix is a skeleton face material removed at the label converters, and the release liner carries the labels and is the remaining part that becomes a waste once the label is applied on the packaging at the brand owner, for example, or at the retailer. So today there are 36 members that are companies and organizations from the whole supply chain of the self-adhesive label, starting from raw material producers. So we have as well the label stock producers, the label converters. The label users are not yet in the project, but we are in contact with them, and the recyclers and collectors of those materials. So a few words about FINAT, which is the European Association of the Label Industry, and one of the founding members, and is hosting the consortium. So the vision is to create more circularity by creating a network of solutions to recycle and to collect, and also to provide education so that the material is recyclable and how it can be collected and where and how they can be recycled. So the target is quite bold because we want to reach 75% of the material to be returned to the economy by 2025. But we think that we can achieve this by establishing a representative organization to better understand the need and constraints of all parties and also the legal aspects of it. And so this will develop adapted solutions that are cost-effective solutions and also so economically viable and with the least environmental impact possible. And finally, by utilizing the whole value chain to build scale. So what is the scale of the opportunity? In Europe, we are talking about nearly 500,000 tons of paper liner, which is a big quantity, but relatively small if you compare to the whole amount of paper material on the market. So it represents a little bit less than 1%. So the challenge is that it's not a mainstream material, and we need to collect it separately to be treated separately. The other part of the material in terms of amount is a matrix. So you see here it's around 125,000 tons, and it's split between paper, which is 2/3 of the material type, and the rest is PP and PE. So the biggest focus at the moment is on paper liner because it's the biggest quantity. It has some value. It's really good fiber if we are looking at the paper. And so we think that there's also good recycling solutions that can be really used to return this material to the economy. So since its launch, CELAB has already identified 25 solutions to recycle and collect the used liner and the matrix. So those solutions are listed on the CELAB-Europe website that everybody can access. So there is this interactive map where you can find all the details needed to choose the most appropriate partner, depending on your location, on the material type, and there are also some contact details to reach out the solution providers. So here now this is about how CELAB-Europe is organized to deliver the work. So you see that there are 6 different work streams, and each of them focus on specific pieces of the puzzle. So you have the data mining, the recycling solutions split between paper liner and film and matrix, the logistics, the legal framework, and the communication. So they are all interconnected. All the information that they provide are needed to develop optimized and adapted solutions. So we'll go a little bit more into details of each work stream to show you the highlight, what they are doing. For the data mining, the scope is to identify where the material is and to measure the progress of the recycling. So to have a good understanding of where the material is per country and per material type, we have this heat mapping, that we update every year. And we are tracking the progress by estimating how much of the paper liner is recycled by the recycling partners that are identified by CELAB. And this year we are starting a new survey with the collectors to estimate how much of the paper liner is collected, so that we can cross-check the results with the recycling figures. Recycling solutions. So here we are talking about paper liner. So the scope is to identify the recyclers and validate them, and to add them on the interactive map, so to make them visible to the brand owners or the retailers who have this type of material. So on the interactive map, here you can see that the solutions are missing in the south of Europe, Italy, Spain, but also in the UK. So we are actively doing trials with recyclers in these countries to validate local solutions. When it is collected separately, the paper liner can be recycled into different applications, like recycled paper, but also insulation material or cushioning material for shipment boxes. So, in order to guide the strategy of CELAB, we have started a life cycle assessment study to compare the impact of those different end-of-life scenarios, and the results are expected in the spring this year. We are also conducting a study to test the paper liner recyclability with the CTP in France, to understand if the paper liner can be mixed with the rest of the whole paper stream, as this would simplify its collection. Then we have this other recycling solution workstream on the film and matrix. So we are collaborating with Ubuntu to scout for solution for the matrix waste, focusing on the paper matrix and the mix of material, paper and filmic, because sometimes it's difficult for the label printers to separate those two different type of material. So we already found interesting outlets like biochar or construction material. So this is ongoing, and we hope to find more solutions during the year. And then we are continuing the work, to validate solutions for the PET liner, and those includes mechanical but also chemical recycling. Logistics. So this is about the collection of the material and the transport to the recycler. When the quantities are big enough, it's not really an issue because we have already existing programs in place that collects the amount of material when it's like at least 2, 3, 5 tons per year. So the problem is when we have small quantities, and here we are looking at different solutions. For example, what we call reverse logistics, so a printer, a label printer that will collect the material, so the liner, from their customers to create a kind of hub so that the quantity is big enough to send to a recycler. Or we also connect with local players that are able to collect small amounts of different type of waste, including the paper liner. So we are also looking at the potential of digital platforms with a consultancy company to identify how we can optimize the logistics by mapping in a more granular way the material. Legal framework, so it's about monitoring the different regulations and directives relating to the liner and matrix waste at European level, but also at member state level. So we are looking mostly specifically at the PPWR, at the Waste Framework Directive, the Waste Treatment Regulation, and the Plastic Packaging Tax in UK, Italy, and Spain. We have collected all the learning in a reference document that is available to all CELAB members, and a summary is available to all on our website. The communication workstream is really about raising awareness of CELAB and that the material is recyclable and what are the solutions. So we communicate via our website, via LinkedIn, with articles, white papers, videos. And here on the right side, you see an infographics for label users in the form of Q&A to answer most frequently asked questions around the paper liner recycling. And we have initiated a communication at each delivery of labels for the label printers that can, put a sticker flagging that the liner can be recycled with a QR code, leading to the interactive map of solutions. So I hope this presentation was instructive and demonstrated all the effort done to make the self-adhesive label industry more circular. If you are interested to know more or to contribute actively to this effort, you can reach us via email. Thank you for your attention. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ophelie, for that presentation. It's good to see that CELAB are working on solutions to support a circular industry. That comes to the end of our Circular Economy Conference. I would like to thank all of our speakers for contributing to our conference, and I would also like to thank all of our viewers. If you want any more information about sustainable packaging, please head over to our website and subscribe to our newsletter.